I just woke up from a few-minute cat nap to clear my mind to do this recording, and awakened to the thought that we all think we know where we are, but really that is mostly a collection of samskaras, latent past impressions, that all kind of collect and weave together to form this sense of reality, and this sense of a sort of existence that has nothing to do with nearly any underlying reality. In other words, all of those samskaras are almost like webs, or like a theater hangings, that create the illusion of scenery. And then there's who we are, where we really are in the world, in the universe, all around that we're often not so conscious of because we're running in these very narrow channels of thought and consciousness without many ways to expand beyond them. I've been spending a lot of time in the 2024, 2025, 2026 charts, mostly 24, but I'm aware of a couple of important reference points out a few years beyond it. We're in a phase of conjunctions. Conjunctions are the most powerful aspect because they represent the turnover of a cycle. That's in collective astrology. In individual personal astrology, I think that squares are the most influential, but we won't get into that. But in collective astrology, like I'm doing in this recording and also in the 2024 readings, the conjunctions are the thing to keep an eye on, and there's many happening and many developing. The most immediate one is Jupiter conjunct Uranus, and that happens on 4/20/24. There is, speaking of conjunctions, just ahead of that, on April 8th, I hadn't really seen this chart. I can't believe I hadn't looked at it or looked at it more carefully. I mean, I must have seen it at some point, but I hadn't taken the time to do it, and it kind of snuck up on me. The All-American eclipse of April 8th, 2024 is a conjunction. It's a moon-sun conjunction. That's what a solar eclipse is, but it's also conjunct Chiron, and that's a very special event, a very unusual eclipse, especially to have it to the pin, conjunct Chiron. By to the pin, I mean that the wheel is divided into 12 signs, 360 degrees. Every degree is divided into 60 arc minutes. Chiron is at 19 Aries, 24 arc minutes. Sun, 19 Aries, 24 arc minutes. Moon, 19 Aries, 24 arc minutes. That's basically impossible. But there it is. It happened. It is happening. And that's April 8th, 2024. The eclipse will cut a swath from Maine to Texas. It'll go diagonally across the east, part of the south, and southern Midwest. And then not a bunch of other events. I've sent out, or will be sending out shortly, an article on the six of the top events of 2024. They seem to be mostly concentrated at the beginning of the year, the first half of the year. I'm going to have to look for more interesting things out in the second half. But there's a lot developing, and that includes this total eclipse, and then the conjunction of Jupiter and Uranus, and then over the summer, a near-miss conjunction of Saturn and Nessus. This is about our relationship to victim consciousness. It's a near-miss because it comes within 1 degree, but doesn't actually fully form, and then it fully forms in February. And then looking into 25 and 26, these conjunctions are already forming. Chiron conjunct Eris in Aries, and then Saturn, newly in Aries, will be conjunct Neptune, newly in Aries. I believe that's 26, 27. So before the conjunctions, you have a lot of balsamic phase, a lot of closure, a lot of wrap it up. And the balsamic phase can accelerate matters and create a sense of frenzy, like getting home before the sun goes down, or getting all your Christmas shopping done by Christmas. And notably, here in the Northern Hemisphere, the days are almost as short as they get, but they're still compressing. The sun is still, because of the angle of the planet, working its way south along the horizon. So it rises a little further. Well, it sets. When we get into the southeast and the northwest thingy, I get a little confused. But everything's creeping south. And then what the solstice is everything seems to hold still, and the angle of the Earth to the sun begins to change, and the sun creeps north again. The days get longer, starting on the solstice. And before that happens, there's a sense of compression. It's not just the holidays. It's just not the end of the civil calendar. There's this cosmic sense of compression, of things being squeezed. And part of the squeeze is that right now the sun is the sun is at this minute at 8.5 degrees, 8.5 degrees of Sagittarius, and it's approaching a deep space point I've mentioned and have talked about in some recent articles called the Great Attractor. That is a focal point of 100,000 galaxies, not to be confused with our galactic center, which is not far from that, and that's at 27. The Great Attractor is at 15. The galactic center is at 27 Sagittarius. So Sagittarius has these massive influences in it that were not known to antiquity. They were not known to Ptolemy and Eudoxus of Cnidos, and maybe the Mayan shamans had an idea of this stuff, but they were not ever part of Western astrology. The symbolism may have translated through. So anyway, in the Northern Hemisphere, while the days are getting shorter, the sun is in Sagittarius, and it's making these conjunctions to deep space points. So they're behind the sun, basically, which means that so during the day, right there, if you look at the sun during the day, approximately behind the sun are these deep space points. Of course, they're invisible. You can't see the Great Attractor at all, and the galactic center is veiled by all these dust clouds, but they can see it with X-ray telescopes. But the night sky we have our back basically at night to these deep space points, and there's a kind of a wintry, lonely feeling without the galactic center being visible. Without it being right there. It is there, but it doesn't seem like it. And we're way on the edge. Well, we're far out from the center of the galaxy, and then we are one of the last galaxies at the tail end of the Great Attractor. So the concentration point is megaparsecs, like 230 megaparsecs away, but we're one of the last galaxies in line to get there, moving very, very quickly. And I know that the flat earthers object to one of the things they keep saying is we're not moving in multiple frames of reference, i.e. the Earth going around the sun and the sun going around the galaxy every 250 million years. And then what none of them seem to know is that the galaxy itself is part of a group called the local group, and then there's the Virgo group. They're all the same thing, basically. They're all part of the same gravitational watershed funneling toward the Great Attractor at, yes, 1 million miles an hour. People are like, well, we can't really, we would feel it if we were moving that fast. And I say, yeah, what you feel now is feeling that. what do we know about time except staring at our watches? What do we know about our reality except largely a whole bunch of samskaras, and then maybe you take some DMT and suddenly the samskaras are all gone. Take some mushrooms, the samskaras are all gone, or they melt a little bit, and then you're like, oh, there's something behind all these curtains. There's something behind all of this dross that we call reality. All right. Immediate astrology is that Mercury moves into Capricorn tomorrow. That officially commences the Mercury retrograde, but the retrograde doesn't happen until I have a wide berth of Mercury retrograde. The retrograde doesn't happen. The station retrograde doesn't happen for 2 more weeks. We're not even technically in the Mercury storm phase yet, but the retrograde occurs in Capricorn mostly. It'll back into Sagittarius, but it starts in Capricorn, and it starts right after the Sagittarius new moon on 12/13/23. Now, I have had my head in these 2024 charts, and one of the things that is just outstanding is the concentrations in Aries, particularly, well, they're all over Aries. There's these groupings of planets. A lot of them you haven't heard the names of, but they're my old buddies. And one of those groupings is at about 8 or 9 degrees of Aries. It includes points like Salacia. It includes Salacia is a trans-Neptunian object. I discussed that briefly with Dr. Alan Stern. I had misidentified it as a scattered disk object. We got into a little spat about that. I was completely wrong. And then Bainor is in Aries. Okiro, as I said, Salacia. It looks like, well, these are some asteroids. They're not going to be there yet. So there's this concentration of points. Salacia, Bainor, and then there is, I believe, Manwë. That's named after the supreme god of the Lord of the Rings. There's a lot of stuff in early Aries. And then in early Capricorn, there is all this other stuff concentrated in early Capricorn, and that includes Pholus. That's in most charts, but then there's Quaoar, Cupido, Ixion, and other points in Capricorn, and they're making this kind of busy dialogue between early Capricorn and early Aries. And what happens is, from time to time, an inner planet shows up and does something. It focuses the energy, right? The outer planets are like, well, that's all the stuff behind all the samskaras. But the samskaras are largely the inner planets, the patterns, the known personality traits, and all of that, normal waking consciousness. And in this case, Mercury shows up right in the midst of it, and it stays still. That's the retrograde. It's relative motion between the Earth, the Sun, and Mercury, but it's just sitting there at the same degree longitude as all those points. Well, it's going to activate them. It's going to tell us about them. This is a very psychically busy few weeks that we are going into. So Capricorn, Mercury goes into Capricorn on the 1st. The station retrograde is on the 13th. And the station direct is on the 1st of January. So bear that in mind. Last couple of weeks of the year will be under the complete influence, basically the whole last month, and part of the first week will be under the influence of this very intriguing Mercury retrograde, which will go all the way back over the galactic center, and station direct at 2211. Have you been noticing anything interesting about the last few days as Mercury has retrograded, moved direct over the galactic center? I have suddenly sprung up some really incredible correspondences with people, and that have this unworldly feeling and as if we've known each other before. And all I can find in the charts is like blazing that out about right now is that Mercury has been and is still very close to the galactic center. Currently at 29 Sagittarius 10. As of this reading, the moon is in Cancer at 20 degrees. That too is a busy thing because overnight the moon is going to square the lunar nodes. It's going to make a square, 90 degrees, to Eris. It's going to make a trine to Neptune. It's going to make a square to Venus around all these times. Around now, all overnight. This is all basically overnight and into early Friday. And then finally, midday, late in the day, Friday, make an opposition to Pluto. So it's all very edgy. And the Cancer moon is sensitive no matter who or what sign you are. That Cancer moon is sensitive. Water signs, obviously, much more sensitive to that. Let's get a time on that moon opposite Pluto. That time would be 8:06 a.m. on December 1st. So that's tomorrow morning, about 8 in the morning Eastern Standard Time. That means that early in the day there will be a moon void after that, and then the moon enters Aquarius. Sorry. Moon enters Leo. Got that backwards. Wishful thinking. I have an Aquarius moon. I like when the moon's there. Moon enters Leo at 11 a.m. So the moon void goes from about 8:15 to 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is the time not to initiate things, not to make commitments. It is a great time if you need to invent a meeting that will seem very important but be absolutely irrelevant. Do it during a moon void. Tomorrow morning is perfect for that. There are those times when there has to be like a very important discussion, but you don't want the outcome to stick. Moon void, of course. Thank you, Ursula, for teaching me that. It has served me well under certain circumstances. That kind of maneuver is called electional astrology. I'm planning Planet Waves FM tomorrow night, a less ambitious edition, though we're planning to have Jeff Strahl on the program. The only person I know who could actually explain who Henry Kissinger was. He passed away yesterday. And then I will have more to say to women, because I said a lot to men and posted like a 8-page kind of guide to men to not get in trouble with sex in today's completely fraught, highly politicized, polarized environment. But I didn't really say much of anything counterpart to the ladies and the young ladies. So I will have more about that tomorrow. And not to miss is my conversation with retired English professor Janice Fiamengo from the most recent Planet Waves FM, who is a very articulate advocate for men and who has been standing up to the emasculation of men and boys and explaining why this is a problem and why we don't want it, and a little bit about what to do about that. That's what I have to say. Tonight we're putting out a horoscope, and that horoscope is subscriber access, the 6 events of 2024, open access for everyone. That should get you interested in the annual edition of Planet Waves. Might be my last one. It's my 26th time doing it. I've about had it, but I'm still fired up for this one. So get it while the getting is good. These will be missed when they are gone. They are such a beautiful piece of astrological craft. All right, I will leave you there and resume at about 7 o'clock when Planet Waves FM goes up on Friday night. Thank you for listening. Thank you for all your love and kindness and friendly support and material support and all of the rest. Lots of love, and bye for now.